Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to take another look at our P6 practice. This video is part of a larger series of videos that focuses on our P6 practice. Your current P6 might be a little bit different than this one. This one is focusing on importing from a CSV file into an array of structures for the purpose of maintaining a simple inventory. Now, in an earlier video, we focused on importing the products from the CSV file, and we've also handled the display product function that allows for you to display or print out the fields in the structure in a nice human-friendly way. In this video, we are going to create a little helper function or a little convenience function that will simply allow for us then to display all of the products. And so the difference between this function and the earlier function is that in the display product, it accepted a singular source, in other words, a singular structure. In this particular example, we are going to get all of the products. And so you'll notice that I now have an array of sources, and I have to specify the actual n or the number of elements in that array. And so the idea here is that our display products function will actually leverage our display product function. Now be very careful to notice here the plural, both in the input argument as well as the function name. The idea is that this function is essentially going to drive the singular display product. So let's go ahead and get started. You'll see that I've set this display products function up much like our other functions. And what we want to do now is simply just check some of our input arguments. And so to start off with, the two things that we want to check is first, if our source is in fact equal to null. In other words, basically somehow a null pointer to an array was passed to us, or rather our sources is equal to null. And if so, provide a message to the user, error. Please provide a valid sources, or again, however you wish to word this, but more importantly, that our results are going to be equal to exit failure. The idea is that ultimately we are going to return then those results. About the only other thing worth checking here using our else if is if our n is less than 0. And again, even though we won't really be impacted too badly by a negative n, it is worthwhile to print out to the user that something did in fact go wrong. So please provide a non-negative n. Now, why does it matter? In other words, if we're going to use a for loop, couldn't we simply just use the negative n in the for loop? Well, the answer is yes. It does require a little bit of extra persistence on our part to make sure there's no issues resulting from it. But also, we could have the situation where the user passes n equals to 0, which effectively means there's no elements in the array to print out. Again, neither of which are really a big problem. It just provides some additional feedback back to the user. In this case, we are only worried about the scenario where n is truly less than 0, in which case we're going to return exit failure. Now, under the else branch, what we want to do is set up a for loop using a local variable that we're simply going to call index, and we are going to loop through starting at 0, continuing up to but not including our n, and increment our index. And then we simply make calls using our display product singular function and using the sources plural array and accessing the individual element specified by the index. And so you can see here now that effectively what this function does, the display products with s plural function does, is that it drives the singular version of this function, or the display product function. So let's go ahead and build this. Let's make sure that we don't have any errors. And now let's come back up to our main real quick, and let's make one more change. We're actually going to still be leveraging this prototype here that we have in our search ID. And we can actually remove the for loop that we wrote earlier. And now we can simply make a call to our display products with the S, and we simply pass all of our products as well as the N that was provided by our import products function. Now we're going to come back to this in a later video. I'll show you how you can actually leverage this to essentially create one long if statement that will allow for us to leverage the results from each of these functions and effectively simplify our code significantly. But at this point, let's just go ahead and build it. And if we come out to the command prompt and we run this one more time, you'll notice that effectively we get the exact same results that we saw in the earlier video. And that's a good thing. No changes really happen. This just helps us simplify our code a little bit, streamline our coding, and if anything, reduce a little bit of redundant code. So as always, hopefully you found this video useful. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And thank you for watching.